Hello and welcome to Editors Unplugged. I am joined by Zaka, Jacob, Meghna, Data, Hina Gambhir, and we are going to focus on what's happening on the war front. Trump not quite sure of when the peace deal will be signed. Iran in no mood to relent. There's also a possibility of Trump-Modi meeting on the sidelines of a big platform. So we'll explore all of that. So let's start with what's happening in Iran. Zaka, the peace deal is elusive. When is it happening? I mean, no one knows, not even Trump.
Well, I can say one thing for sure. I think people are beating around the bush. I think Iran has won this war. I think it's pretty much boils down to that, because you look at the situation before the war. Iran, I think, was far away from making a nuclear weapon. Today, I think they're closer to making a nuclear weapon than before this war began. Before the war, nobody knew that Iran can almost at will shut off the Strait of Hormuz and cause pain to countries around the world, including to India. Now the world knows that they can. Before the war, people didn't know that Iran had the ability to hit back at American military bases in Iraq, in Jordan, in Kuwait, and do so on a regular basis. And of course, the biggest thing that Trump set out to achieve, which was regime change, even that has not been achieved because one Khamenei has replaced another Khamenei. So I think, frankly, people are still just beating around the bush. Yes, a lot of destruction has happened in mainland Iran. It's going to take tens of billions of dollars and probably years, maybe decades to rebuild the country. But at the end of it, the country is still standing strong. And I think the most important factor for me is that the dynamic of the region has changed. Today, a Saudi Arabia, a UAE, a Qatar, once this war ends, and I think it will end in the next few days or weeks, the security dynamic of the Middle East has changed. And these countries will now start questioning the billions and billions of dollars that they give to America for their net security protection every year. I think that is the fundamental thing that will alter in the Middle East, I think.
Meghna?
Because at the end of it, taking off from what Zaka was saying as well, the domestic compulsions are also something that Donald Trump needs to deal with. You have the midterm polls which are coming in. Let's not forget there are similar constraints domestically when it comes to elections for Netanyahu as well. Yeah. For both of them being forced to come onto the table. Look at the desperation. It's a blow-by-blow war which is being played out on social media with Trump putting out posts. What's compelling him to put out so many statements? One day he says, I'm going to go and strike them. It's going to be all out fire and fury. On the other day he says, we are close to a deal. We are negotiating. Look at the restraint that Iran has shown. They know they have won. They know they are in control of Hormuz, of the narrative on social media. And that's also very important going ahead with G7 coming up. They know they have won the narrative of this war. And I think that's where the confidence of Iran comes in. Yes, they've taken several hits. It's going to take decades, if not more, to rebuild the country. But then look at where Donald Trump finds himself, from a position of great power to an approval rating which is lower than 22% right now. He has his own representatives in the Congress coming out and refusing to back him when it comes to the war. So he has internal dissent within his party. He's losing his support base. He's got an approval rating of 22%. Midterm polls are coming.
And most importantly, the narrative. Trump has lost the narrative. Yeah. People lost the war much before, but now he's losing the narrative. It really looks like the man not in control of things, Hina.
I agree. And I also agree with what Zaka has said. I think Trump underestimated Iran when Trump launched this war on Iran. Now, remember, Iran is a country that has endured pain for a very long time. It has lived in that regime of sanctions, assets frozen. So it knows how to survive in a situation like this, which Trump underestimated. Trump felt US is like that superpower, that big daddy can do whatever US feels like. And that was the problem of Donald Trump here. Donald Trump felt that like other countries, like other parts of the world, US is going to launch a war without even thinking of an exit strategy. And it's going to come out the way or whenever it wants to come out, like what it did with Afghanistan, at its own will. That did not happen because Iran this time had a strategy in mind. Iran had learned its lessons. Iran knew how to protect its assets. For example, Kharg Island. Trump has threatened many a times, and Kharg Island is like the energy lifeline for Iran. Iran knows how to protect it. So it hit Trump where it was going to hurt the entire world. That's what it did. First, what did it do? It started targeting American bases in the Gulf. Then it hit the lifeline, Strait of Hormuz, which is very crucial for the entire world. And this is something I think Trump did not see coming. And second, right now, I feel that Trump is itching for some kind of a peace deal. See, more than a politician, I think he's a businessman. He loves transactions. He wants to win this war somehow. So he is itching for a deal. There's also one more reason. He's faced a lot of legal setbacks recently. Tariffs, then another court order wherein his name from Kennedy Center for Performing Arts had to be dropped, and then the third aspect is H-1B fee that he levied. So he's faced so much of setbacks.
Nothing
He's
is going
looking
right for Trump.
something good. That's what he wants. It's
You were talking
posturing
of
and
an
nothing
exit
else.
strategy, Zaka. Forget the exit strategy. I don't even see an off ramp, that Trump could perhaps take or use to his advantage. Not even a face saver. What does he do as the most powerful man on earth?
So see, I think it'll boil down to for Trump, he needs to be able to tell the American people, and particularly because it's a midterm year, that whatever deal he gets is a better deal than what Obama got in 2015. He's obsessed about this JCPOA deal, which Obama had done in 2015. And he has to portray it, spin it as this is better than what Obama got, right? Now, whether or not he'll get that, even if he doesn't get it, he will portray it as such. I think basically what happened was Trump was going through a rough patch even before these court rulings with the Epstein files, right? Every day something or the other was coming out in the newspapers. Even now, there's this famous story that's come out in the last couple of days about what was happening in the Situation Room. Vice President Vance apparently was on one side, and the others were, Susie Wiles and all of them. So Epstein was a big problem for Trump. At that time, Bibi Netanyahu, I think sometime in January or February, went to the White House and managed to convince Trump that, look, now is the time to hit Iran. And I guarantee you, if you eliminate Khamenei, this war will get over quickly. It'll get over in 4 weeks. And this will be the greatest thing that you would have done as president. You would have achieved something that 5 presidents before you could not achieve. And Trump fell for it. He underestimated Iran. He didn't realize that Iran had the ability to withstand all of these attacks, that it could shut off the Strait of Hormuz at will. He completely, went in there blindsided by Bibi Netanyahu. And even now, look at the patterns, right? Every time there's a stalemate, every time Trump feels like, nothing is happening and the pressure is building up on him, he says a bunch of things on social media. I'm going to attack now. I'm going to bomb you to the Stone Ages, civilization, this, that. And then suddenly he backs off at the 11th hour. And that's why everybody's calling him Taco Trump, right? He always chickens out. So I think he got played to a great extent. And now he finds himself in a situation where he can't extricate himself and at the same time show some sort of a win, even if it's a symbolic win to the American people. I don't think he has that deal on hand right now. He's saying that something will be signed in Europe next week when the G7 happens. We'll wait and see. But, if a deal does get signed, I think the entire world will welcome it. Even Trump himself will welcome it, as bad as that deal might be. The only person who may not be happy with a deal is Netanyahu, I think.
What do you think prevents that deal?
So 2-3 things. One, I think the Americans are insistent that the nuclear material that Iran has, I think it's about 400 kilograms of fissile material, America wants to control it. I think they are not willing to give it to any other third country. Second, they want a clause in the deal saying, see, Iran will not pursue a nuclear weapon. And Abbas Araghchi, when he was here in India last month in that press conference, said explicitly that the former leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had issued a fatwa saying nuclear weapons are against Islam, and therefore Iran does not want to pursue a nuclear weapon. The weapon is not the issue. The issue is Iran is not committing itself to saying we will not enrich beyond 60% or 70%. 90% is what you need for the weapon, right? They're not willing to commit to that on paper with some kind of guarantees. And the Americans want to see that. I think these two are the ones that are holding up. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz, I think there's enough pressure that will be brought to bear. I mean, the two countries that are most affected are India and China, because a bulk of our oil comes through Hormuz.
And the human cost of the war. I mean, look at what has happened now.
Absolutely. The human cost, but also the way that it has been projected to the world. You know what is grabbing the headlines in this FIFA is the way that Trump is apparently hosting what they are calling it the MAGA World Cup. That is the narrative that has been pushed out very effectively. And this is not just Iran, several other countries also saying that this is a country where you said you want to host something which is supposed to be an inclusive event of sporting excellence, and you've reduced it to something which is full of just hate and fury. This is the Operation Fury, because you have the Iranians who've been asked that, okay, you want to come in? You come in for a match, and the minute the whistle blows, you need to leave America. You need to go across to Mexico. You have the Iranian team, they were told very categorically, because those are the FIFA rules, that you cannot show any kind of political protest when you're on the field. They land on the tarmac, they are wearing these pins saying #168. This, of course, is the reference to the elementary school which was bombed in southern Iran. Those are the kind of reminders that Iran has been giving. When you say that the night when Trump said that it is going to be a civilizational war, the week following this, they set up kiosks in all the main cities where you had children being told that this is how you use your arms. This is how you use arms. They are giving arms training. You have women who can be seen in burqas, coming out, learning how to clean a gun, learning how to use a gun. Many people have come out and said that the regime there is anti-women. But at the end of it, the powerful image that went out is that this is a regime which has women saying that we are going to stand up for our country. So these are very powerful counter narratives. When you talk about the cost of human life, yes, it has been massive. And many have said that that is perhaps one of the biggest reasons US even entered a war, as always, outside its territory. You cannot always be untouched by the cost of war.
The Hormuz choke is really taking a toll. I mean, look at what's happening in India, and there is no end to it.
That's right. And also, the drop in oil prices that we've seen today has also caught everybody's attention, because ever since Donald Trump announced that there is going to be a peace deal very soon, there has been at least 4% drop in Brent crude prices. Now, Strait of Hormuz is like the lifeline for Asia, because from the Middle East, that's the only way through which you get your energy requirement. India imports around 85% of its crude oil, that we import, that we get. Most of it comes from that particular path. Even though we have diversified our energy resources, but a supply disruption in the Strait of Hormuz is going to always impact us. So coming back to the deal point here, I also feel, because that's what many are feeling. See, this is a situation that can't really be changed overnight. The nuclear issue is a very long pending issue between Iran and the United States of America. Stakeholders can't just fix this issue, in 4 or 5 meetings. So I don't really know what peace deal is he talking about, because even when he announced that there's going to be a peace deal very soon, Tehran pushed back and said that this is all media speculation. There is no such deal. US is being very greedy about it. So some feel that maybe he's trying to play the markets. He's done it in the past also, because after his statement, oil prices went down, stock markets went up sharply. And of course, now we'll see what happens over the weekend. He's done it in the past. So it remains to be seen what actually is he trying to do, even if there is going to be a deal.
Yeah, so one doesn't know about the markets, but like Zaka said, Netanyahu, outplayed Trump clearly. It got played by Bibi Netanyahu, and, now Trump appears like totally weak. He's the one who looks as the man who surrendered.
Yeah.
When Modi meets him on the sidelines of the G7 meeting, what do you think, India's priorities?
Well, clearly the Strait is a huge priority, because you're seeing the kind of pressure it's putting on the rupee. You're seeing the kind of pressure it's putting on inflation. Basically, look, this is a big impediment to the India growth story, right? The growth is either coming down or flattening because of the extended war. So I presume that the Prime Minister will tell President Trump that, look, we need the Strait back open, and we need it the way it was prior to 28th of February, when it was free, it was open, and it was one of the most important waterways for global commerce. Also, between India and the US, we still don't have a trade deal, a final trade deal. We've negotiated some kind of an interim arrangement. Again, we are still, grappling with, will it be 18%? Will it be an additional 10%? Will it be, so that issue also needs to be sorted. And the latest, I think, is the issue of the sailors. Even though, these are not India flagged ships, fact is that 3 Indian seamen have died. and killed not by the Iranians, killed not by the Houthis, or not by Hamas. They were killed by Americans, right? American hellfire missiles. And I think the Prime Minister will stress on that in his meeting with President Trump, that you can't be firing at, friendly countries like India and then expect us to roll out the red carpet for
Do
you.
you think India's done enough? The démarche which was given up, even today, I believe that they are going to summon. But is that going to be enough? Those are the questions
Look,
being asked.
I think there's a lot of anger, particularly on social media, particularly amongst, followers and supporters of the BJP, that just, issuing statements or démarches is not good enough. I mean, you need to tell in clear terms, and it needs to be conveyed at the highest level, I believe. I don't think calling a second in command at the embassy here is going to convey that message. That message has to be conveyed to the leadership in the US, and that it has to be conveyed to President Trump. And President Trump needs to know that, you can't expect India to go out on a limb and, roll out the red carpet for your critical minerals projects or any other projects, nuclear projects and so on. And then our seamen get killed, right? I mean, again, I don't want to fault anyone here, but these were most likely ships that were part of a shadow fleet whose transponders were switched off, who were not India flagged. There are still, by the way, 13 Indian vessels that are still there. They've been stuck there since the start of this war. For 90 days, there are 13 India flagged ships that are still there. Why are they not coming? They're not coming because it's not safe. It's a war zone. There's a blockade. These ships tried to violate that by switching off their AIS machines and, trying to escape or evade detection by the US. Now, look, either the rest of the world comes and has enough military might and tells America, you've got to stop the blockade. I don't think anyone is showing that interest or that might.
And also, who's keeping that blockade on?
It's
Is
the
it
US.
Iran, and then you have US?
Yeah, correct. No, so Iran.
So here's the problem. Iran's allowing India flagships, though. They have been...
Not necessarily. I think they're doing that on a case-to-case basis.
Yes.
Each individual ships. Look, many of these are commercial ships, right? These are private companies, private shipping companies who are doing this for a profit. So they're doing this on a case-to-case basis. But I think the blockade is there because Iran had shut the Strait. And now it's become a chicken and egg situation because the Iranians are saying, we will control the Strait as long as the blockade is there. So, neither side is willing to give. And that for India, and to some extent, as Hina was saying, a lot of countries in Asia are worst affected because our energy flows are...
I want to pick on something that Hina spoke about, stakeholders. Look at the stakeholders, between Iran, America, Israel. You have Pakistan mediating. When you have a country like Pakistan, doing mediation work, I mean, what does one expect?
I think the Pakistani mediation has now run its course. I think, in my view, I mean, they might still spring a surprise, but I think this particular deal that Trump is talking about on social media may get signed on the sidelines of G7 next week is being actively pushed through by the Qataris, the Omanis, the Saudis obviously have to be on board. I think they are the more principal players. I think the Munir and Shahbaz Sharif effort is...
Is it then safe to say that the war in West Asia has shattered the image of America being this, global superpower?
Certainly in that region. I mean, look at the number of American bases in that region. And these are all countries that are paying tens of billions of dollars to America every single year. I mean, America was their net security provider. Whenever this war ends, like I said, the terms of reference in that region would have changed. It would basically be that Iran is now saying at the end of this war, if anybody tries to attack us, we have the power and the resources to hurt you, and hurt you where it hurts you the most, which is economic consequences. I mean, the lifeline of the Middle East is oil. If Saudi Arabia cannot export oil, or Qatar cannot export LNG, or is always at the mercy of Iran for their biggest export, then the dynamics of the region have changed.
And it hurts, the world. And look at the domestic commentary, not just in US, but look at the commentary here in India. The opposition is saying the Modi may be all powerful, etc., etc. But he can't, get his way to get even Indian ships to come back.
In fact, it'll be very interesting, which is why precisely. And I think, Zaka, you're going to be there. So it'll be interesting to see if you witness this meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi on the sidelines of G7. We're still awaiting for an official confirmation of that. But yes, you're absolutely right. The opposition is having a field day saying, say you have 3 strikes on Indian crude ships. You have 3 Indians who've lost their lives. So right now, the shadow of war is hitting Indian shores, and we can feel it. We can feel the heat in the fact that you don't have a trade deal with the US, which has been forever in the making. We've actually cracked a better one, the mother of all deals with others. But taking off from what even Zaka was saying, what does it mean for America? For example, you have a country like Spain which says that we are not going to allow you to use your military bases. We are going to put ourselves first. It has already been undermined. NATO and US has been at loggerheads. One of the biggest losers, perhaps, is going to be Ukraine, because no one's really talking about Ukraine anymore. And they stand to lose the maximum with this realignment, the new world order, where you have Trump and Putin coming together, then you have Xi Jinping coming together. So everything is in such a flux. But, in the coming days, it's going to be very interesting to see how long these alliances of convenience are going to stand. Once, and let's hope that there is going to be some kind of a peace deal. If that happens, what happens from here onwards, especially economically? Economically, what do we expect?
One thing we need to understand is that the peace deal is not going to be some magic pill that will overnight, change the situation for the entire world. That's one. Second, even if they say Strait of Hormuz is open, one, it's not going to be same as how it used to be on 27th of February, 2026. It's going to be very different. Third, the kind of impact energy infrastructure in the Gulf has taken because of the attacks from Iran side specifically, that infrastructure rebuilding is going to take time. So for energy importing countries like India, etc., things will not become normal immediately. And lastly, one point I'd like to make here is that I think, on the basis of whatever commentary I have gone through so far, the peace deal that Trump probably is talking about is going to be another ceasefire kind of an agreement wherein both sides get more time to iron out the differences. Because
But the
like I
trouble here
said,
is there are more than 2 sides. There are more than 2 sides.
right
So
now, I
both
don't think
sides-
Israel really matters. It's just between
because
US and Iran.
even if a deal is signed between Iran and America, the Israelis, do something.
But
and then,
Israelis are like, this time also, they've said, we've got nothing to do with what's happening between Iran and the US right
They said
now.
they're surprised.
they
that
say
there
all
is
the right things. And
But,
No, so I asked the ambassador, and he tried to put up a brave face saying that, look, we're always talking, every time there is a conversation between the president and the prime minister of Israel. But I think there's also a pattern. Every time they're close to a deal, Netanyahu goes and attacks Lebanon, right? And then again, we're back to square one. And clearly, from whatever the last phone conversation Trump and Netanyahu had, a lot of expletives were used, etc. I don't think they're on the same page.
And that's a big problem because, there are more than just 2 sides. So, but we've come to the end of the program, viewers. I'm not sure by the time this, plays out over the weekend, whether this conversation holds because, the situation is so volatile given the, the nature of the players involved. But thank you for watching. We'll see you once again next week.